what's up, guys? It's C-Jax back with another video, and today I'm not going to be reviewing Across the Spider-Verse. I'm going to be making a rant about this movie and why it is an overrated mess. Everyone going into this film, at least what I was hearing, was saying it was the greatest superhero movie ever, the greatest Spider-Man film ever. This is a masterpiece. Stop. It was nowhere near that great, and it was a mess of a film. And I want to break it down into about 4 or 5 different aspects and basically just go on a full-on rant about why this movie was not that good. So let's just get into it. So to start off, the first thing that I thought was a massive issue of this movie is the pacing. Throughout the whole entire first half of this film, you are just bored out of your mind. My audience, actually, I was looking around, I kid you not, people were laying down in their seats like this, and I was even laying down like this, trying to lean my head, because I was so tired. I was bored of watching this garbage. That's just what it was. People were going on their phones, going on Snapchat, and I'm not lying. This is 100%, I'm dead serious. And also on top of that, the first 25, 30 minutes, we get reintroduced to Gwen and everything that's going on with her, and she's got her band like she does in the comics and stuff. We meet Peter, who's supposed to be a crucial element to her backstory, guys, and guess what happens, man? He dies in 2 seconds. He drinks a green potion, becomes a monster, and then dies, and the excuse is, I wanted to be like you, Gwen. What? What? You mean to tell me you took 25 to 30 minutes of the beginning of this movie to flesh out Gwen's backstory and her past and her character, and that's the best you could give to Peter Parker? Really? And then her dad basically does nothing and has no development? They just get scenes back and forth between the two, try to talk about Peter, who wasn't even fleshed out himself. It's a waste of 30 minutes, and it's paced terribly. You're bored as heck after the first 30, and it takes 30 minutes to actually meet the main character of the movie, Miles Morales. Why is it taking so long? Why are we watching boring slog scene after slog scene? It makes no sense. Then you get to Miles, and guess what? You get repetitive scenes with him and his family. Some of the scenes are good, but then some of it starts to feel very repetitive, and they're rehashing elements from the first movie and reintroducing. There is way too much reintroducing and rehashing of the first movie inside of this movie. And this is all happening in the first act, or basically the first act, first half of the movie, and we're not really getting focus on what's happening now. And when we do get that focus, those scenes are typically here and there. They don't really come in a row. So it's just, that pacing is atrocious. And even in the second half of the movie, the pacing's still not that great. You find yourself bored at parts, and it's just, the pacing in this film, it's a 2 hour and 15-minute movie, and it feels like I was there for 5 hours. That's how bad it was. And I've talked to multiple people who have seen it, and they're saying the same thing. The pacing's just not good. And the second issue I have with this movie is that there was way too much setup for the part 2 to this movie coming out next year, bro. Like I said, the first half of this movie is just rehashing, well, most of it is rehashing stuff from the first movie. The second half is basically just a mess of plot lines that's trying to set up what's going to happen in the next movie, bro. In the second half, you get all the Spider Society and all these crazy cameos, and quickly, the cameos in this movie are literally just there to say, oh, there's Spectacular Spider-Man, oh, there's PS4 Spider-Man, oh, there's him, there's that. Like, it's just fanfare, bro. They don't actually do anything. Spider-Punk and the dude with the golden wrists, I'll put a picture of him there, that Spider-Man, these dudes aren't doing anything. They're just there for a couple moments. They do a couple cool things, if that, and then people are praising them like they're some legends. They're not. This movie should have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and a focus on this movie specifically. Avengers Infinity War, which set up Endgame. It was kind of a part 1 and part 2. We all know this. That movie had a beginning, middle, and end. And Thanos in that film, who's basically the main character, and the Avengers, who are also the main characters, soon as Thanos shows up, you're hooked from beginning to end. It takes way too long to get interested in what's actually happening inside of this movie. And the thing about Infinity War is that it actually gave a conclusive ending to the film, to the point where if there wasn't a sequel, you would still be content with what you saw, knowing that it was great, but also being extremely pumped for what would happen next. This movie, you're kind of pumped for what's happening next, but you're not content with what you got in this specific movie because it wasn't really focused on this movie. It makes absolutely no sense. The story arcs, the character development, the storytelling, where is it in this movie? Who in this film has a great or a special or amazing character arc? Nobody. Absolutely nobody. In the villain Spot, quickly to talk about him, he wants to ruin Miles' life and possibly his reality. I don't even remember what he said, because Miles viewed him as a joke and because Miles inadvertently ruined his life when Miles was 13. Really? I mean, I'm just like, in Miles in this film, where is his great character arc? After the first movie, you had moments like Leap of Faith, and he's getting his suit on and he's fighting at the end and really figuring out who he is. Where are the moments, those key, big, awesome scenes like that inside of this movie, bro? Where? They're nowhere to be found, and it is an absolute disappointment. This film feels like it doesn't have a third act because they're too busy setting up, oh, they're going to be a big multiversal event in the next one, and this is going to happen, and this is going to... Dude, focus on this movie and make this great, and then leave the last act of the last 20 minutes to set up what's happening next. This movie is all just set up, and the first half is rehashing the first film. They never take time to focus on what is actually happening inside of this movie, and it hurts the film really bad. And the third issue, the plot of this film is a complete and utter mess. You start off focused on Gwen and her backstory, and what's going on with her, what's going to happen with her and her dad. Then you go to Miles and his family, and oh my gosh, is there a fractured relationship with them? They're arguing he can't be there for them because he has to be Spider-Man, all that stuff. Then you get to the second act, you meet the Spider Society and all the stuff that's going on, and how this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Every event and the losses that happens in these Spider-Man's lives are considered canon by the Spider Society, and they must happen or else the whole entire universe could collapse. It is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And for you to tell me that there's thousands of Spider people here that have lost their loved ones, and they're willing to join this team where they know that that stuff was predestined to happen and it had to happen in order to stay canon, so there was no way they could have saved the people they loved? Really? You mean to tell me that that many Spider-Man characters will be okay with that? Huh? That is the dumbest... Yo, the Spider Society concept is so dumb, and it is an absolute mess. Like I referenced with the cameos in this movie, like Spectacular Spider-Man and PS4, they're just there for fanfare, bro. All these characters in the second half, it's just a mess. An absolute and utter mess. All these characters, all these plot lines, everything's mashing together. You have Spider-Man 2099 in this movie, who's kind of an afterthought once you watch the movie because there's so much going on, you forget about the guy. All these plot lines, all these characters, nothing is really getting developed. Like I said, it's just setting up for what's next. They do not focus on this film whatsoever, and in the second half, you really get to see that when you have all bunch of characters and people running around and fighting each other, and you have no idea what's going on, really. It's an absolute, like, I don't understand it, bro. And then the plot holes themselves. Why in the world would Gwen let Miles go save that dude on the bridge if she knew it could cause a canon issue and ruin a reality? Why? Just stop the dude. There's freaking 3 of you guys in the Spider Society, and you're just looking at him. Everything could have been avoided because this movie, it doesn't, I can't do this. This plot is just terrible. The second half is a mess. You get the point. And I do quickly want to say that there were some things in this movie that I did like. I thought the animation was good or even amazing at certain points throughout. Gwen and Miles, they had good character moments every now and then. And on top of that, I do want to say that some of the Spider-Verse lore that was introduced was pretty awesome, and it was pretty cool. And that Childish Gambino Prowler cameo, spoiler alert, sorry about that, that was pretty sick too. But that's pretty much all that I really cared for. And I guess the ending with 2 Miles was also pretty decent. It was pretty cool. And so overall, from start to finish, this movie is simply an overrated mess with bad pacing, mediocre villain, not that much great storytelling or development. And on top of that, the second half of this movie is a total mess of plot lines and characters. I would give Across the Spider-Verse a solid 6.5 out of 10 at best. It is like a C-tier movie maybe, and on top of that, I think Into the Spider-Verse is a way better movie that's way more well-rounded than this film. Like I said, overrated as heck. You guys can feel free to let me know what you thought about the movie in the comment section below, and as always, I hope you guys have a phenomenal day. Peace out.